Hey guys, welcome back to yet another week and another movie on the Greatest Movie Podcast. I'm joined as always with Bosco. Say hello, Bosco.
Hi, Bosco.
Yeah, that joke doesn't quite work when you don't even repeat what I asked you to say verbatim. I hope you realize
Verbatim.
that. Verbatim. Alright, so this week on the podcast, we watched the movie Giant, a title that not only describes the name of the movie, but also its runtime.
James and the Giant Peach.
James in the giant oil field, we'll go with this time around. Is there anything you'd like to say before we jump into a summary here?
Well, this movie did racism right.
Okay. Let's explain no farther until...
Yes.
Alright.
Abdab.
So Giant really covers the history of an entire family. It begins, or at least a generation of a family. It begins with the meeting of Jordan, also known as Bick Benedict, meeting Leslie, something last name, it's not Benedict yet, at a house in Maryland where he goes to buy a horse for his ranch. Leslie's already engaged, but they quickly fall in love and they move back to Texas. They get married and start a life together. They are on the ranch. Leslie is looked down upon by Bick's sister, Luz, who considers her not a Texan. Well, she's not really a Texan, and feels negatively about her for that reason. And so let's in an act of malice against Leslie, kind of, she digs her spurs very hard into Leslie's horse that Bick bought while riding it, and so the horse...
You skipped a lot of that synopsis over. Holy shit.
The movie's 3 hours. How much do you want me,
You're skimming it down like a motherfucker. That's like
I know, that
almost
happens like an
movie.
hour in.
Oh shit.
I mean, is there anything specific that I skipped over you want me to...
Not really, but I mean, oh wait, you're doing synopsis, I'm sorry. But still.
I'm doing a synopsis.
Okay, you may continue.
Okay. I'm trying to think. I don't think I missed anything too important. I mean, there's stuff about early on. We realized that she doesn't feel the same way about some of Texas's actions that the native Texans do. Like, she calls out Bick at dinner for a couple of issues in Texas's history. In addition to that, she is very outspoken in interactions with Bick and his friends, such as when the old boys club is getting together to discuss what they call business and politics, and
Men talk.
She gets very upset over the sexism.
I really like this movie.
Yeah, you really liked it. I think I can say right now, I did as well. I thought it ran a little long, but aside from that,
I think it was necessary. It wasn't slow. It wasn't boring. It had a good pacing to it. It wasn't like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which I thought pacing wise was really fucking slow, and I thought it was probably one of the worst ways to handle a racist type scenario.
Okay, before you say anything,
you can't go into it. I'm sorry, but
you've got to turn the music off in the background.
You can hear that?
Yeah.
I played it every time we play.
Something about it this time is like I can hear it. Is that better now? Is that fine for you? 'Cause yeah.
What?
Okay. Well.
You want me to turn it off now? 'Cause I haven't gone even over to it yet.
Yeah, I can still hear it.
Okay, wait me a minute. You know why you can hear it? It's because the song is ugly. Pretty ugly. I don't remember. Pretty ugly before, because you're ugly.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Alright, so with that little bit of discussion, I'm going to continue on with the synopsis now. Basically, Leslie's horse bucks Luz off from her attacks with the spurs, and it ends up killing Lutz as she hits the ground. And Lutz was very fond of a certain ranch hand, or worker for Bick on the ranch, named Jet, who's played by James Dean. And so when Lutz dies, her will actually gives part of the land on the ranch to Jet. And Jet is very stubborn, and he also is jealous of Bick for his wealth and for his relationship with Leslie, who he's also very fond of. And so Jet stubbornly refuses to resell the piece of land in the middle of Bick's back to Bick. Instead, he's going to make it his home. He calls it Little Riata. The ranch itself is called Riata. And directly before Lutz dies, while Jet and Leslie get sidetracked on the way home because Leslie, we find out, has a lot more compassion for the Mexican families in the area. She goes in to help out a sick child of a family while her and Jet are supposed to be heading back to the ranch in the car. So this kind of creates some tension early on between Bick and Leslie, where he doesn't want them fraternizing with the Mexicans, but Leslie still manages to win the fight in ways where, even though Bick himself cannot really come to terms with that yet, that he accepts that Leslie feels more compassionately and interacts with these people than he or his family ever did. In the time in between the death and the next real big event in the plot development, Leslie and Bick have three very young children, two twins, Jordan, another Jordan, so Jordan the third, as well as Judy Benedict, and they finally have a littlest girl named Luz, just named after Jordan's sister. And you will see that Lutz too. Lutz second has a little bit in common with her namesake sister, mostly regarding one other specific character in the movie who, at the same time, happens to, while working tirelessly on his little piece of ranch, Jet finds a trace of oil in the land. He begins drilling in that spot, and he actually hits a gusher of oil, which is a very big deal. So at this point, he drives straight to the Benedict front yard, and they're having all these people over, and he yells at everyone, including Bick, that he's going to be richer than all of them, and they kind of like abide with his yelling and are a little shocked, and then Jet gets up on the porch and begins strangely hitting on Leslie, and so at this point Bick responds pretty naturally, I guess, by punching him in the face, and then as Bick's friends hold him back, Jet runs in and gives him a few shots to the gut while he can't defend himself before running off to his car and back to his now oil field. And so over the years, Jet gets very rich. As the children are growing up, his oil company really explodes in the years leading up to World War II. Bick sends him a cease and desist kind of for the name Riata, and so the company's name switches to Jet Texas, and the Jet Texas company becomes very large. Meanwhile, at Bick's company, the children are all now in their teen, young adult stages. Bick's son, Jordan, does not want to succeed him and run the ranch. Instead, he wants to go off to Harvard and then Cornell to become a doctor, which a lot of people might see as something they want their kid to do, but Bick is very adamant that he should continue on at the ranch. Whereas his daughter, so what happens there is that he eventually accepts that his son will go off to become a doctor as opposed to, Jesus Christ, this is a long movie. Go off to become I need notes for this, I think. Gotta do that next time. To become a doctor instead of work on the ranch. And so it seems like Judy will continue on the ranch legacy as she, instead of wanting to go to finish school in Switzerland, decides to study animal husbandry at Texas Tech. And around this time, she meets her husband. And then before World War II, a bit after Pearl Harbor, the two, Judy and her new husband, because her new husband is heading into the army, they are at a Christmas party, as is the sick Mexican child from all those years back named Angel, who Leslie has a certain affection for that family. And also at this Christmas party, Angel is also going off to war. That's the important part. He comes in his military garb, and
he was the first one to go to war.
He was the first one to go to war. That's right.
He was the most American of the Americans. Texans were
that's right. The white, what's his name? Judy's husband. God damn it, I can't remember his name.
Doesn't matter. Generic white guy number two.
Generic white guy number two. He in fact comes to the little Angel for almost advice. He wants him to say what it's like out there, but you'll see once they're out there, or maybe even more on the way back, things happen a little differently. The biggest important part is also at that party, two things happen, one at night, one in the morning, that are very important. At night, Jordan meets his future wife, who is a Mexican girl by the name of Juana. Her father is a doctor who has always taken a bit of an interest in Jordan, like the two have known each other before, and that's one of the reasons, one of his role models for becoming a doctor. So Jordan meets her, and then in the morning, Jordan makes it clear to his dad that he'll never be taking over the ranch, and so it seems like,
I have a question.
Yes.
Was Guana actually, or whatever her name was, are you sure that was the doctor's daughter or just a nurse? I thought...
Oh, you're right. It might just be a nurse.
Yeah, because it wasn't really talked about.
Yeah, I think maybe I just put it in my brain because they came in together.
They all look alike anyways.
Remember, kids, the message of this movie. Racism is bad.
I really like this movie.
Yeah. at that Christmas party, what happens? Oh yeah, in the morning, so just after Jordan refuses the offer of becoming the head of the ranch, it seems like Bick is going to offer it instead to Judy and her husband, and everything will turn out fine that way. But it turns out the two of them, despite being very interested in the ranch life, only want a small ranch for themselves. They want to be more research focused than big money. So basically being rejected by the entirety of his family to continue on the ranch legacy, Jet shows up at the home and after making weird eyes at Bick's daughter, does finally convince Bick to, or it might be a phone call this time, but Bick is finally convinced when he sees no one will continue on the ranch to turn it into an oil field because otherwise it'll basically just die out. And so with the tax benefits of making oil for the U.S. government in World War II, the Benedicts get even richer, like insanely rich. We see that they've got a swimming pool now. It's
a front yard and ground.
and they've got their own plane. Yeah, they've got quite a few. So after World War II, Judy's husband returns home alive and to great fanfare, but unfortunately, Angel returns home in a casket with an American flag on it to a much smaller gathering of people.
I think it was about the same size. It was more solemn.
The thing about all the people who were at the pool party.
True, I suppose.
Yeah, you see, like, basically, both people served their country. One of them died, and because he was from a different social and racial.
Bick cared. I think Bick really wanted to give I think Bick eventually wanted to talk to him about taking over the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he was really impressed by his riding skills when he was a young kid. I feel like he was about to talk to him, but racism, the kid probably thought he was going to get yelled at, so he left when he saw that. So he was just like, oh, and then he turns up dead. That's why he gave him this flag. I think that was the flag of his father or something, or grandfather. I think it was really special to him, the meaning of it.
I can see that.
I really think progressively he wasn't. He really progressed really. I can't talk, sorry. Go with your synopsis. Fuck, we're still on that shit.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot. This movie is over 3 hours. Like, it's like 3.5 hours, guys.
Or your damn synopsis.
Alright, so, to finish up the damn synopsis, I guess there's like 2 kind of big events left, but things that take up, I guess, the climax of the movie for at least one of the leading characters. The family is invited to visit the opening of the Jet Rink Airport and Hotel, which will end with a big dinner honoring Jet's success and everything. And so at the dinner, a couple of things happen while people are getting ready. Jet makes a very drunken, unclear, not quite a move, but still kind of a move on Lutz, the young daughter of Bick, and she leaves him to go prepare for his speech. And then also, before the speech, while everyone is getting all tuxedoed up, Juana attempts to go to the beauty parlor in the hotel, and when she calls on the phone and says she's the wife of Jordan Benedict, of course they say, oh yeah, we have room, don't worry about it, we have room, come on down. And so she comes on down. When they get there, they say, oh, we're busy, you're gonna have to wait a while, because they immediately realize that she is of Mexican descent. And then I should probably mention at this point as well that both Judy and Jordan and their husband and wives respectively have had children, meaning Bick and Leslie's grandchildren, and the grandchild is also clearly Mexican, obviously. So when she's in there, and then she sees another white woman walk in, and the white woman is ushered directly in, despite being even later than Juana. She's ushered directly into the clinic, and Juana kind of clues into what's up, that they're racist, or at least enacting some racist policies, and so she calls Jordan, because she's unsure of what to do, and Jordan comes down. This is the young Jordan, of course. He gets very pissed, understandably so, about the whole ordeal. Ends up tossing a jar? Tossing a something into the mirror at the beauty parlor, and then he goes off after Jet because he's fuming mad, and he confronts Jet in the middle of the big ballroom right before Jet is about to give his speech. Jet is so drunk at this point that he's not really sure what's going on, but we get another classic Jet moment of when Jordan shows up and tells Jet to stick his dukes up. Jet's men hold Jordan back, and so he can hit Jordan a couple times, and then his men carry him out. And then basically, Jet walks about 10 more meters before Bick stands up, calls him aside, and they walk off into the cellar, presumably to fight. And then so, to stall or to introduce Jet, Senator gets up and gives a speech, and while this happens, Bick confronts Jet in the cellar. And as they prepare to battle one last time, Bick realizes that Jet is so far gone, he's so drunk and pathetic, that he's not even worth hitting. And so Bick leaves Jet with a nice rhyme about how he's through, and that he should know that to be true, and walks out of the cellar and back with his family, telling them to leave. Of course, Jet when he does return to the stage, is so destroyed from his alcoholism that he passes out at the mic, and the family walks off. The rest of the gala attendants walk off behind the family. In the hotel room, the Benedicts kind of have a fight with each other because Jordan claims that it's not even Jet he was mad at for the racist policies of the hotel. It's that these policies are shared. These ideas are shared in the minds of a lot of other people, and he accuses his father of being one of those people. Lutz also goes and sees with their uncle. There's a lot of side characters in this movie. One of them is Bick's uncle, and she goes down and sees Jet being like destroyed drunk, giving a incredibly slurred speech that just sounds like Plinkett voice to me. And she kind of realizes that he's not that great of a man finally, and that he needs to just get his life back in order. And so on the way home from the celebration, Juana, Leslie, Lutz, and Bick are all driving home in the car, as well as Juana's infant son. And on the way back, they decide to stop in a diner for a nice hamburger and pie, because Bick's decided he's had enough with the fancy life, and he just wants to live like a good old hardworking American again. And so in that diner, the staff is initially a little apprehensive to serve Bick's family because of Juana's presence, and her son's presence, but eventually they relent and they are about to be served. And then another Mexican family, but this time an all Mexican family, walks in, and they are promptly attempted to be kicked out of the restaurant by Sarge, who is the owner of the place. And Sarge, we should mention, is a very large man, about 30 years Bick's junior, or maybe even 40 years Bick's junior. And as Sarge attempts to kick the other Mexican family out of the restaurant, Bick does not allow him to do so, and the two engage in a brawl that Bick eventually ends up losing. But because of the gumption and the overall attitude towards the people of the races who are often discriminated here, he earns the respect of Sarge, who takes down his sign where he says he can refuse the right to service. But more importantly, he earns the respect of his family.
No, that is false. He does not do that. He does that to say, I can do what I want, and he's basically saying you kicked out. He didn't earn respect of Sarge.
I think that's what happened.
No.
The guy...
He had a smug look. That was like a smug gesture.
Man, he had, you could see, Sarge think about it.
He threw it on him.
Yeah,
He didn't,
to say that this
he
is
didn't throw it in
over,
the trash.
this policy is no more.
That's not at all. That's not what all happened at all.
Okay.
He says, I stand by my right to not serve somebody, and he chucks it at him, saying, get the fuck out of my store.
All right.
My restaurant. That's exactly what it means. I don't know where you're getting
that's
at.
That's not the important
liberal.
part of...
You liberal.
Yeah.
You think everyone's all gooey movie. This is a very good movie. It's accurate. It's no one sucking each other's cocks.
Okay. That's not the important part. The important part of that scenario, though,
Very
is that
important.
he earns the respect of his family.
No, his wife.
For doing... Yeah, his wife, but also of, I think, Juana, and it's not immediately implied, but his son as well, for finally taking steps to say that, not only is this behavior unacceptable for me, but I also believe that this behavior should be unacceptable for other people. And so the movie kind of ends with Leslie and Bick discussing their lives as they watch over their grandchildren, and Leslie tells Bick that after that fight in the diner for the first time in his life, he was her hero, and that she considers their version of the Benedict family a bigger success, I guess, than all the old versions, their multiracial version. Alright, so that's the long-ass movie. That was a long-ass synopsis. What do you have to say?
I like this movie.
I did as well. I had literally just one problem with the movie, and that was the runtime. I mean, they felt like they used the vast majority of it well. It was well paced, but once you get up to that length, it doesn't change the fact that it's that long. I think that, what's the next longest movie we watched? Probably Patton?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Patton, that's a little over 2 hours. This one's a little over 3. No, wait, that Patton's nearly 3 hours.
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing.
Yes.
Remember, I want to go back to I think our first or second review. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. That was our first. To me, felt like the longest movie ever. It was only an hour and 3/4 around. And this one paced was so badly compared to this. And I just, this 3 hours felt like less than that movie. And the way it went about racism was a lot better too, I think. It wasn't so jerky. I don't know, man. Just, you know what I mean, man? It just doesn't... Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I'll hit the runtime. I think that the movie was paced well considering it was over 3 hours, but it was still slightly over 3 hours. I think that a film like Patton did do pacing slightly better considering the runtime. I never felt the length of Patton. I felt the length of this guy a little, mostly because there were in this movie quite a few, not climax moments, but almost finale moments. Like just the part at the beginning where Leslie goes and tells her sister, she's like, hey, she's talking about the other man who she's engaged to marry. Well, you can have him or whatever, and she walks out after Bick. That's and the music kind of plays like that would be the ending of like a movie like 20 years ago, or whatever. Like, doesn't that just seem like the ending of like a 1940s romance movie already?
Oh, sorry. What did you ask?
I said, doesn't that seem like when they get married at the beginning? That just seems like the end of a movie. Like that could have been the end.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like Frankenstein in a way, because they're about to, they make the monster, they throw it away, and then but it has like a bunch of endings. It could have a lot of areas where it could have ended, but it doesn't. It gets bigger and better. It's really what I would consider an epic.
I think an epic's a fair description of this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't like using epic because I hate the faggots that use that shit. Oh, the sexually impaired. They use that all the time to describe everything that wear fedoras and have neckbeards. But
Okay.
I mean, this is a very accurate display of what I would consider an epic. It's 3 hours. It's much better than the Lord of the Rings series for sure. It actually has progression and it makes sense and it's not stupid and it has a lot of recurring elements like what we pointed out initially was Trey. What's his name? The guy that James Dean. James Dean would take cheap shots at people, and he did it to his big son too. And which was playing I forget the word, but it basically it showed that he's just a really cheap fighter. He's very cheap. And I mean when you come in to watch a James Dean movie, you assume he's gonna be the star, like the major role.
Well, there's not
right?
that many James Dean movies.
But you know what I mean. This is the default. This is the initial impression I had was like, okay, it's gonna be like a James Dean circle jerk fest, but it wasn't. He was the anti-hero. He was the bad guy. I thought like not Catherine. I thought whatchamacallit was gonna fall in love with him eventually. Yeah, Elizabeth Taylor. But it wasn't that at all. You know what I mean? It was actually like he was a bigger jerk than Bick. Like Bick progressed, he digressed.
Yeah.
He became worse and
And
worse.
I think what makes this a quote-unquote epic as well is that Bick's progression kind of mirrors the progression of Texas as a whole. You know what I mean? How I'm sure there are still racists in Texas.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah, because there's racists everywhere, but I think that the racism towards those people diminished in a similar time frame and how it diminished in Bick, as well as the progression of life in Texas went from the big money people having these huge ranches to the big money people having these huge oil fields. And yeah.
But I think it's more on the terms that people are so racist. They just don't want to lose money, so they're not going to be outwardly in a business sense. They're not going to push somebody away.
So you were talking about James Dean. So this was, of course, one of James Dean's 3 films, two of which I consider good. I'm not a fan of East of Eden. It's also East of Eden.
This is the only James Dean movie I've seen.
You haven't seen Rebel Without a Cause?
No.
Okay, that is a
we're
not going to talk about it right now, but that is, I guess, the kind of quintessential James Dean film.
Like I just know pop culture. That's the reason. That's what was based on what I said.
Yeah. No, and I think that is even a more definitive statement than seeing the other movies almost. When you can talk about it that way, when it says like, hey, James Dean was this or you think about him as this stereotypical leading man, but he did give a leading performance, but it was also as the villain of the movie, and
it was good.
It was good because the villain wasn't an outright villain. You saw him descend further and further into villainy.
Yeah.
At the beginning, he was just a hard worker who didn't like certain things.
Right. Like initially, you thought Bick was gonna be the bad guy. He kind of was like a jerk. A little bit. He had his moments.
Yeah, and I think, but that's what's important. Neither of them were perfect at the beginning, but what happened was one improved on himself. Bick got better, and Jet got worse. All right, so why don't we go through? Speaking of James Dean's performances, the Academy Awards this movie was nominated and received for. So Giant only won one Academy Award the year of. That was the Academy Award for Best Director, going to George Stevens. But it was nominated for quite a few, those ones being Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Writing, Best Film Editing, Best Music, like original score, Best Costume Design, Art Direction, Picture, Actress in a Supporting Role, which was for Mercedes McCambridge, aka Lutz, Bick's sister, the older Lutz, and then also for 2 Best Actor in a Leading Role, both James Dean and Rock Hudson received the nomination. You have any opinion on that, Bosco?
No, it was well deserved. I don't understand why it's on the list. I guess they didn't win any awards or something. I don't understand why it's not on the list. I guess they didn't win any awards.
Yeah, that year was, but I think it must have had the most nominations for the year at least. I mean, I know it lost to Around the World in 80 Days, which was more of just like a spectacle movie. Like, I don't think Around the World in 80 Days received any acting nominations or whatever, right? Giant was.
Wait, the one with Jackie Chan?
Yeah, the one with Jackie Chan and the British guy from Hamlet too.
Yeah.
But do you think, so who do you think, because neither of them ended up winning, who do you think more deserved the Best Actor in the Leading Role statue? James Dean or Rock Hudson?
Man, honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. They were really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I came to love Bick more than James Dean.
But,
you know
but you're supposed to.
Like the longer. I know, but that's the good thing. I think it might be the thing that makes. But also, I became to hate James Dean more too. So I mean, it's like, you're supposed to. So which one's better? Well, I think Bick's acting was tighter, and I think James Dean's acting a little bit more looser. So I think I would go with Bick.
I think I would agree with you. I did like Rock Hudson a little more. I mean, I think they both gave amazing performances. Like, who the fuck? Yul Brynner, The King and I. I've never seen that movie. It looks like it has C-3PO on the poster. Get out of that poster, C-3PO. Yeah, I think that James Dean, his performance, just at the end there, descends into, I know the whole point was that Jet had completely lost control over his life, but like, I still think his portrayal might have been a little too drunk. And that's, I think Dick the whole way, Rock Hudson played it perfectly. But overall, it was fantastic acting.
I think they embellished the alcoholism a little bit too much.
And I think that's even more the director's choice than the actor's, but it still factors in.
I think so too. I like the fact that James Dean actually shaved parts of his hair in order to give a receding hairline look.
Oh yeah, you know who does that? Do you watch Mad Men? Okay, well, I learned this season that Vincent Kartheiser, every year he shaves back his hairline a little more for each season as Pete, because he wants to say that, like, hey, this guy's, like, getting stressed out and, like, yeah.
That shows commitment.
Shows commitment, because, yeah.
That's like his trademark, really, for James Dean, is his pompadour. What's it called?
That's, the, like, Elvis-y haircut.
I think it's called a pompadour.
I think, right?
I know Morrissey of the Smiths had it. Quiff. I really don't know. We'll start talking about this.
So I guess one more thing to discuss about the acting awards. Do you think Elizabeth Taylor should have been in there for Best Actress?
Yeah, she was pretty good.
Okay.
She wasn't phenomenal, but she did, I don't know. I really, the issue is most of the scripts, they play it more male orientated for most of the, time these movies are made. So I think she did a solid job, and she played her part, very well. I don't think she had enough screen time to actually really, in my opinion, like, compared to, like, now, where they usually get equal or sometimes greater. It's really hard to tell. But I mean, I don't know what else came out at that time. What time period is this? 56?
Yeah, 1956.
What's it running up against? And I can give you a better...
For Best Picture?
Yeah, what's it running up
Around
against?
the World in 80 Days, King and I, 10 Commandments, and one other. I can't remember the one.
Yeah, she did, because those movies are terrible.
Oh, you mean for the Best Actress? Here's one thing interesting about the Best Actress Award. There is only one movie for the Best Actress Award that also has a nomination in the Best Actor category and the Best Picture category, which is The King and I. So I think that might say something about the time where the majority of the movies with famous and female leads kind of were written in a way that was very focused on those female leads, and that didn't necessarily translate to success in the wider aspects of the movie. Although, one thing of note here, one of the nominations for Best Actress this year was Carol Baker, do you know who that is?
I think so.
That she plays the younger Lutz in this movie. Carol Baker. But she was nominated for a different movie, for Baby Doll.
This year?
In 1956.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm like 2013.
I guess.
Sorry.
Funnily enough, you were talking about screen time. Mercedes McCambridge was still nominated for her portrayal of Lutz the Senior, despite dying. Well, I guess it's like 45 minutes into the movie, an hour into the movie, but that does seem like a very small part of the movie in retrospect.
Was that her mother? Oh no, that's the lady that kicked the horse.
Yes, that's the lady that kicked the horse. An apt way of describing it.
I don't know, man. That scene was kind of stupid.
You didn't like the way they handled that one?
It just had that really, cheesy feel in the way they did it. It was just really, they always zoom into the wounds and zoom out.
Yeah,
I hate that.
Yeah. When she kicks in, well, they had to make it clear that's what's going on. That it's like not her spurring the horse in an inspiring way. I guess. I think my only thing I didn't like the way they handled in the movie, cinematography, direct-wise, was there was that scene where they were showing the ranch before, and they were showing like these pair of bulls like fighting, and they kept cutting to like different parts of the bullfight, like a second ahead, but they weren't cutting to like reaction shots or anything in between, and like people just don't do that in movies, you know what I mean? Like they don't cut ahead at the same angle without doing something else, so that was a little weird. I'm guessing they just wanted to fit the bulls fighting in there because it looked cool.
It did look cool.
It did look pretty cool. So other things I like this movie, I really like the score. This movie did a really good job of kind of like reusing themes from earlier in the score, like several times in different contexts. It used the like do 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 do, like that one. Did you notice that?
Yeah, they did it a lot.
Yeah, they did that a fair bit.
4 or 5 times.
But each time it was kind of different. Like
always different.
Yeah,
always different, but always the same. The Fall by John Peel.
And I think that's the sign of a good, more so than a good song, a good score for a movie, when you can have that
fit it in,
have that same music be used differently stylistically too.
And it wasn't always set up as the background music, like that wasn't here. It was actually part of the scene, like people, obviously actors would hear it, it wasn't just for the audience. It was actually involved.
Yeah, it's like
which was
when Jet walks in, they play like the kind of fanfare version of that.
Exactly, which is cool because it's a different side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that you can mix and match and put it in there, but still have it right out in front. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but it's more of an interesting approach than anything else. But the way they had recurring elements and stuff, that reminds me of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and stuff like that. They would have recurring elements throughout these movies or throughout the pair of movies, and I thought that's the things I love about movie making, is when they can have things cycle in a way and recycle, but not in a way, but make it different, just to show the monotony.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good discussion. This film, we have hit quite a runtime today, possibly our highest yet without the Oscar special. I think that bumped that episode a fair bit. So, is there anything else you want to say about this movie before we sign off?
Jungle love is making me mad, it's making me crazy.
Okay. That has exceptionally little to do with this movie. I would say I recommend this movie. It is long, but everyone should definitely go see it because it's very good. And come on, it's impossible to see that many James Dean movies. There's just not a whole lot of them. So go see this one.
He made a car commercial.
You could also watch...
I heard it went over my head.
Alright, so...
steer clear from that.
Right. So next week we will not be watching another James Dean movie. That will come much, much later on. Instead, I often say the American classic, but this time I'm going to go ahead and say the Kevin Costner classic, Dances with Wolves. That's what we got next week.
Why can't we watch Postman?
Postman?
You see Postman?
Postman?
It's really okay.
It's good to know. I guess this is it. And you want to know something, Bosco?
Yes, ma'am.
If I live to be 90... I will never figure this movie out.
Fucking quotes, man.
Goodbye. You've just been listening to a Gooncast Media Podcast. The greatest movie podcast. fuck's going on outside?
Is it Canada's Independence Day?